Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Kris. This is still part of the request about Prince Eugene, Battle of Zenta, 1697. Eugene achieves total victory against the Ottomans. So, video.
Following their decisive victory at the Second Battle of Mohács, Imperial forces reconquered much of the central parts of the former Kingdom of Hungary. Emperor Leopold secured further diplomatic victories in the following period, as the Hungarian Diet agreed to make the House of Habsburgs the hereditary kings of Hungary. In the spring of 1688, the Transylvanian nobility proclaimed an end to their Ottoman vassal status, to become the subjects of the King of Hungary again. Young Eugene of Savoy fought both capably and valiantly in the previous years, and he continued to do so in 1688 when he participated in the siege of Belgrade. The Imperial forces under the command of Elector Max Emanuel of Bavaria captured the fortress on September the 6th. Eugene took a bullet to the knee during the siege, which forced him out of service until the beginning of 1689. By the early months of 1689, the Habsburgs succeeded in reconquering most of the territories belonging to the former Kingdom of Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire was on the ropes. It was King of France, Louis XIV, who came to the rescue of the Ottomans. Louis intended to create a more easily defensible frontier for France, seizing the required lands by force. Eager to intimidate the German princes, Louis ordered his forces to cross the Rhine in the autumn of 1688. However, he badly misjudged the political mood inside the Holy Roman Empire and Europe itself. Instead of backing down in the face of French arms, the princes of empire rallied around the emperor and were ready to fight against Louis. William of Orange and Charles II of Spain also joined the alliance. Instead of a short war of intimidation, the conflict turned into a 9-year-long war of attrition. Starting in 1689, the bulk of the imperial forces were redeployed against the French.
Why did the French want to help the Ottoman Empire? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Were they allies before? Or is he only doing it because of Prince Eugene and he just wants to knock him down a peg or two and or kill him? Just kind of doesn't make sense to me why they would... I mean, look. All this territory, your best bet would have just been to sail and land, but you're actually marching through the enemy territory. I don't know. Okay. All right.
Which gave the Ottoman Empire the breather it needed. Max Emanuel was transferred from Hungary to take command of the imperial forces in the Rhineland. Eugene of Savoy served as his capable lieutenant general throughout the campaign of 1689. For the campaign of 1690, he was transferred to the Italian frontier, where he joined his cousin Victor Amadeus of Savoy. Newly promoted to general of the cavalry, his rise in the ranks continued. He was frustrated by Victor's military decisions, but skillfully saved his cousin's army after the defeat at the Battle of Staffarda, allowing the Allied forces to retreat in good order, rather than in a disorganized rout. The Allies usually outnumbered the French in northern Italy. Still, as they were made up of a mixture of Imperial, Savoyard and Spanish forces, cooperation was often difficult. Eugene did not hide his frustration when he wrote back to Vienna, commenting that had everyone done their duty, they would have beaten the French long ago. Despite his criticisms, Eugene equipped himself well in his subordinate commander roles and was promoted to the rank of Field Marshal in 1693.
Man.
Italy, however,
He's just climbing up that ladder, isn't he?
Proved to be a sideshow in the war, and the conflict there ended earlier than in other parts of Europe. Disheartened by the reverses and fearing the increase of imperial influence in his country, Victor Amadeus left the alliance early in 1696. He sabotaged the war effort in the final years, and Eugene could never trust him thereafter. The war against the Ottoman Empire continued. Besides the war against the Habsburgs, the Ottomans were fighting against Venice, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and Russia. The 16...
Do you think that the French king had that truce or treaty with Victor just because that was Prince Eugene's cousin? Everything always comes back to that for some reason, that in my mind. It's doing everything to just underhand him.
The 1690 counteroffensive saw the Ottomans lay siege to Belgrade. After just 6 days, its garrison surrendered. A local uprising by the energetic Emmerich Tokoi prevented any Habsburg army from relieving the city. At the cost of losing Belgrade, the Habsburgs managed to save Transylvania. Still, with the bulk of the German armies deployed against the French, the Habsburgs simply lacked the numbers to continue their initial successes, and a stalemate developed. Some minor battles occurred, such as the Battle of Slankamen in 1691. Thanks to their highly mobile light cavalry, the Ottomans still posed a considerable danger in skirmishes and raids. In 1695, the Elector of Saxony, Augustus the Strong, became the commander of the Habsburg forces. The young and inexperienced commander turned out to be an uninspired choice. Following the Habsburg defeat at Belgrade, the Ottomans, led by the new Sultan Mustafa II, scored a string of victories at the battles of Lugos, Ulas, and Seney. Many contemporaries blamed Augustus for the reverses, though luckily for the Habsburgs, these victories, though no doubt lifted the Ottoman morale, gained them no lasting strategic advantage. As the warring parties entered the year 1697, most people probably expected the stalemate to continue. One ambitious imperial commander had other plans. With the war on the Italian front ending in 1696, Field Marshal Eugene of Savoy was transferred to the Danubian frontier for next year's campaign. Augustus resigned his command in 1696 to pursue the throne of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Eugene replaced him. Eugene finally received what can be called his first independent command.
Okay.
The victories of the previous 2 years emboldened the Sultan. In 1697, he took to the offensive. He departed from Edirne in April. It is estimated that his army numbered between 60,000 and 100,000 soldiers. The huge Ottoman force reached Belgrade on August the 11th. Eugene's army facing them numbered around 70,000 in total. His situation was anything but rose-colored. By July, the supplies were scarce. At most, there were provisions and arms to cover around half of his army. Additionally, contingents of imperial soldiers had to be diverted to quell minor revolts. It would not be an exaggeration to state that simply holding together the army was a feat in itself. Able commanders such as Guido Starhemberg certainly aided Eugene. The Viennese court sent Eugene strict orders to remain on the defensive. However, this was not something the ambitious commander intended to adhere to. When Eugene received intelligence about the movements of the Ottoman forces, he decided to concentrate most of his available manpower around Petrovaradin, a town north of Belgrade. By the time the concentration of troops was realized, he had around 50,000 soldiers under his command. Emmerich Tokoi advised the Sultan to march east rather than north. The Sultan agreed, and they headed toward the now Habsburg-held Transylvania. The Ottomans reached the river Tisa on
I'm only giggling because I think Dracula every single time.
September 10th and began to ford the river the next day. The engineers did a superb job. However, even taking into consideration the skill of the engineers, for such a force to pass from one side of the river to the other took considerable.
Why do they animate it with the horses with the only using 3 of their 4 legs?
Time, and during this time the army was virtually split into 2, and such fordings always held an element of danger. Thanks to the accurate information relayed to him by his scouts, Prince Eugene was fully aware of the activity and the whereabouts of the Ottoman army, and he now saw the perfect opportunity to strike a deadly blow against the temporarily divided Ottoman army. Unlike the Imperials, the Ottomans were largely in the dark about the movements of their enemies, and had they known just how close Prince Eugene's army was to them, they probably would not have attempted to ford the river. Despite the arrival of strict orders not to attempt any risky offensive, Prince Eugene decided to attack the Turks while they were still fording the river. He force-marched his army on the 11th of September and arrived at the scene of the Ottomans crossing the river by the late afternoon, just as the sun began to set. Once he arrived, Prince Eugene personally inspected the strategic situation. He saw that the Ottomans built strong defenses on both sides of the bridge. According to his estimates, the interior ditch was about 500 paces long on either side. Behind it, there were wagons and around 100 guns in defensive positions. Ahead of the interior ditch, there was a slightly longer, around 1,000 paces long, circumvallation which was meant to reach the river, but the arrival of Eugene's army did not leave enough time to finish these works.
Oh, so were they attempting to kind of make this a moat in a way if it was supposed to reach the river? Kind of flood this whole area so they would have to cross? That's interesting. If that's what was meant. If you're going here, and you're going all along here, what does it just stop there? Unless it feeds it. Why would you feed into here? I don't know. If they were trying to go for like a moat, I did this and I meant to, then okay, cool.
As the Turks were not defending the ditches in great numbers, Eugene now saw the perfect opportunity to order an all-out assault. Despite the 10 hours of forced march, Prince Eugene attacked almost immediately. He lined up cavalry on the 2 flanks, infantry in the middle, and ordered an all-out assault against the Ottoman troops. By this time, the Sultan, most of his cavalry and part of the infantry were on the other side of the Tisa, but most of the infantry, with the Grand Vizier and the artillery, was yet to cross. The Imperial cavalry on the left was the first one to engage the enemy when they repelled an attempt from the Ottomans to break out. Once the Ottoman attack was repelled, Guido Starhemberg, who was in command of the left flank, in turn led a counterattack, but his troops were repelled by the Ottoman guns. In response, the Imperial troops opened artillery fire as well. While Starhemberg's attack was momentarily checked, the Imperial center and right descended into the Ottoman trenches and steadily pushed them back in a brutal melee. Seeing the distress of his troops, the Grand Vizier led a cavalry attack against the Imperial left. But his attack was repelled, and Starhemberg's counterattack nearly penetrated as far as the Ottoman bridge.
So, and this is just a comment, nothing to bear with me. Wouldn't you love to go back in time and just in a safe spot, and like on a hill or something, just looking down at all of this and just witness how they fought like this? 1600s, 1400s, 12, 10, 8. I mean, they're knives, but they swords, but they do have guns, obviously. But I think it would have been just brutal and savage, but to have witnessed it. That would probably be something that, if you witness it, that would never leave your head. To be in one of those fights, I can understand why some of these guys are soldiers for their entire lives, because you've been in a battle like this where you charge a line and you're almost hand-to-hand combat. You can't fill out an application for McDonald's after that. You have told your body, your brain and all, yeah, killing is what we're going to do from now on until we get killed. You're not saying, did you want everything on that cheeseburger? You're not saying that. Because you would flip out. What do you mean the fries are salty? I kill you. And, but I would love to have witnessed this. Because, today, you could bomb from the sky. You can cruise missiles from ships. All kinds of stuff. But, man, just to have witnessed, because this would have just been so brutal. I don't want to witness it for the brutality. I just want to witness it for how they did it. And the constant fighting. And see people going backwards and then going forwards and back. And then to see a cavalry charge and how they defend that. And, I don't want to say there's some beauty to it, because almost like a dance, one side's winning and then the other side's winning. But there's got to be something to it. I apologize for that. I just wanted to ask if anyone else would like to witness that kind of thing. It wouldn't be the first choice if I had a choice to go back in time. But,
Prince Eugene.
Okay. I could have waited and talked during that commercial, but I didn't know. I'm sorry. Sweet boy Christopher didn't know. I don't know what he's saying. He's saying you could have talked over this commercial, you idiot. Stop overpaying. Okay.
Prince Eugene sent reinforcements from the center to Starhemberg. The Imperials were pushing towards the bridge, trying to cut off the only retreat the Ottomans had. Seeing their route of escape threatened, many from the Ottoman camp tried to flee, while they still could. Artillery bombardments against the bridge caused it to collapse. What followed was an utter massacre as the surrounded and overwhelmed Ottomans tried to swim across the river, only to drown in it. With the cohesion of the defenders broken, the Imperials massacred the Ottomans. By the time the battle was over, Prince Eugene won a decisive victory. In total, Eugene lost around 700 dead and another 1,900 wounded, while the Ottoman losses numbered between 20,000 and 30,000 killed, wounded, and missing. Besides losing from a third to a fifth of his army, the Sultan lost more than 100 guns, at the highest count of 160. His treasury, supplies, food and ammunition, several thousand wagons, and some humiliating personal losses like the seal of the Sultan and his sword. Seeing the disaster unfolding, the Sultan was only a helpless spectator.
A lot of them are drowning, and my question is, I don't want to ask if they can swim, But is it because of all the equipment they have on that just kind of weighs them down? It has to be it, right? Because I think baseline you could doggy paddle, but I can swim, so I can't imagine it. To me, it would have to be the weight of everything, and and I don't know how wide the river would be, and that would probably get me exhausted. I could probably do a good distance. I couldn't tell you what a good distance would be, depending on the weight. But I, as I say, I also know how to swim. So I don't know if you don't know how to swim and you're trying and you've got all that on you. I mean, you really don't have much hope. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
And after his forces on the other side of the river were overwhelmed, he fled to Temeshvar and then to Istanbul. The victory at Zenta was enough to tilt the balance of power decisively in favor of the Habsburgs. Though the fighting continued for another 14 months, during which time Eugene raided the Balkans and sacked Ottoman-held Sarajevo, the outcome of the long Turkish War was decided at Zenta. The warring sides signed the Treaty of Karlovitz on January 26, 1699. According to the treaty, the Ottomans formally ceded the Egri Eyali, Varat Eyali, Budin Eyali, and parts of the Temeshvar and Bosnia Eyali to the Austrian Habsburgs, most of Podalia to Poland-Lithuania, parts of the Dalmatian coast and Morea to Venice. Negotiations with Russia continued for another year, but in 1700 the Ottomans ceded Azov to the Russians. The Ottomans also lost an important vassal, the Principality of Transylvania, which was to be governed from that point on by governors named by Vienna. Karlovitz brought an end to the Great Turkish War that lasted for 14 years. However, peace in early modern Europe seldom lasted for long. In less than 2 decades, the Ottomans clashed with Russia as they recaptured Azov, and with Venice as they recaptured Morea. However, their attempts to retake Hungary failed. Once again, Eugene of Savoy would be at the forefront of thwarting their attempts to seize Hungary. If you stayed around this far, thank you.
I did, and thank you for making it. I'm reading footnote 3. In just a few years, Eugene would serve together with his great friend, the Duke of Marlborough. I know that name. I know a lot of these names. I've done a lot of these videos, and a lot of the names sound familiar, and then some are new. In loving memory of Mimi. That's right down here. I'm not making it up. Okay. I'm going to end this here. Like and subscribe. There is one more of the Prince Eugene series, and I will, well, I'll get to it tomorrow. Someone asked about finishing, or will I do the 100 Years' War? I will. I have done that. That was my stomach, sorry. I did the one video that started it, and it's kind of on that list of things to do, and I just never gotten back into it. I do apologize. Just trying to get what I can done when I do have free time, because I'm working 50 plus hours, so it's not a lot of time, and I'm bleeding for some reason. I don't know what I did. Okay, well, apparently I got wounded in this battle. So I'm going to end this here. Like and subscribe, and have a good day, have a good night.